So the last part of this section is going to be started on page 2-27, where we're going to add the extruded feature. So we're going to finish up this problem, and we're going to start creating some additional sketches and cuts on this part right here. So from the 3D view, we're going to click on the Start 2D Sketch. I'm going to be adding a L-shaped piece right here to this existing part. So I'm going to click on the top surface right here, and we're going to start once again with a basic simple sketch. So sketching in just a basic L shape using my geometric constraints, keeping things 90 degrees and parallel. I'm just going to project that over and line that up and click on that. So once you do that, we're then going to go back and place the dimensions. So putting the dimensions on all of these parts. Ooh, I've got a boundary here that hasn't been closed, so I'm going to use the extend button to close that up and put the dimension as specified. On this part. So these are the dimensions that are needed in order to get this part to size. So after I've placed all of the dimensions there, I'm just going to go back now and look at dimensions that have been specified on page 229 and change those dimensions. So this one is going to be 0.75. This one is 2.5. I'm just going to double click on the dimension, double click on the dimension, double click on this one. Okay, and now I'm going to tie all of this back over to the 0, 0 point. So clicking on the line and the 0 point, I have a dimension of 0.175, and I'm just going to make that 0, and that moves the entire body. And now going horizontally, that dimension is going to become 0, and now I've created that sketch. So looking at that from the side, what I have is a sketch going across the top connected to the piece that I already have drawn, and that is what I need. So I'm going to finish that sketch, and then I'm going to move over into the extrude. So I'm going to pick that surface and want to change the direction for this. So as you can see here, the direction, I can click on the direction tab. That's one way of changing it. Or I can actually pull on that arrow, and I can change the direction. I have a feeling when I set up my presentation mode, I must have changed something on the color there. So I don't know why they came up green. I was just as surprised as you were, but that's not supposed to be that lime green. So I'll fix that in just a minute. So I'm going to type in the distance for 2.5. Click on that, and there we go. So I must have changed something on the presentation mode to get that lime green. Okay, so that extruded that. So now you can see what I have going over here in my model tab is I have a sketch and an extrude for each time that I'm working. So sketch and extrude, and I'm ready to move on to the next part. So I'm going to add another sketch over here on the right side, and I'm just going to draw myself a circle. Okay, I didn't line it up any particular place. I just picked the point and I just drew the circle. Now I'm going to come back with my dimensions, and I'm going to specify where I want this to be located. So pulling that dimension out at 1.25, and then going from side to side. This is 0.75. Oops. Locate that. 3 things that you always need when dimensioning a hole is the length, the vertical and horizontal axis, and also the size. So 3 things should always be given when you're locating or putting a hole on a part. So give those 3 items. I am ready to finish the sketch. Another method of also finishing sketch is you can right click on your mouse and click on Finish 2D Sketch. Some people prefer to use their mouse for those types of things, so you need to find what method works for you, and you're welcome to use either one. So after we do this, we're going to go to Extrude, and now we're looking at this surface right here, and we want to not add to this. Okay, so this is in the join feature, and we don't want to join this shape right here. We want to actually cut away. So moving down on this dialog box, we need to switch this to the cut. Okay. Here I like to look at the different methods that are available. So the first option is cut through all. So if you do through all, it's going to calculate that distance, whatever you have here, and it will always cut through the full length of the model. So that's a nice feature to have. If you were to go back and change the depth of this in a particular sketch, it's always going to cut through that surface. So that is it's a good practice to get into, especially if you know that the part you're designing is going to always have a hole that goes through it, and you don't need to, like, it's just going to be, if it's going to be a hole and it's going to have something made up with something, then you may not need to go all the way through. But if you're going to put a bolt through something, you want to always have a hole there. You're never going to have something where you're going to want to have to go back and change the length. So I like to use through all. This one right here is 2, so I can pick another surface. So if I were drawing in another part and I had another surface, I could then specify a different surface. And then this one is 2 next. So this one is just saying if I had a solid model and I was going through and I wanted to go to the next surface or the next plane, I might choose that one. So I think the through all and the 2 next are very similar. So I like to use like either the through all or to the next, and not specifying the distance, because the distance, if you do that, then you have to make sure that as that piece changes in thickness, you have to make sure that you remember to go back and change the thickness of the hole. So through all is my go-to, and I'm going to leave that there and then hit OK, and you can see that now you have created a hole all the way through, and that is what we were looking for. So use your little cube. I'm just kind of holding down on my button as I'm kind of looking through there and spinning that around to make sure that that's exactly what I want. So we're going to add one more surface cut. We're going to now sketch on this surface. So back to the 2D sketch, we're going to click on this side right here, and we're going to draw a rectangle, not a rectangle, a triangle. So let's go ahead and draw this triangle. I'm going to sketch this in here, and then pick that endpoint. Now I'm going to specify my dimension, and this time I am going to use the angle command. So for the dimension, we don't have to switch out to a different command. We keep the Smart Dimension command active, and we don't have to specify, are we using a circle, a dimension for a diameter, or a dimension for radius, or we dimension an angle. It knows based on the object that you're selecting what it's supposed to dimension. So when you pick a single line or you pick 2 points, it knows that it's doing a linear dimension. When you pick this line here and then you pick another line, it knows that it's supposed to give a angular dimension. So click on that and change that to 45 degrees, and it's going to update the length of that leg, make that 45 degrees, and that's exactly what we're looking to complete. So we are going to finish this sketch, and now we're going to extrude. Okay, so picking the extrude command here, we're going to now switch this to the Boolean option. We're going to set that to cut. Alright, so let's just take a look here. This is a good example of the distance. So here we've got a specified distance. You can pull that arrow, you can move that to change the distance. So that's a pretty handy feature there. If we do through all, it's going to know that this part has that full length right there, so it's going to go all the way through. So last time we did through all and it went straight through the part, there was nothing else on the other side. If we use the to next, so it's going to cut through this surface right here. So it's going to cut through the surface and then go over to the other surface and then stop. So it's always cutting through. If this were to change in thickness, then it's going to remain as part of the cut. So leaving that with the to next and the cut, you should be able to cut through that part. And that is the completion of this. So the only thing left now is to save this model. I'd like to make sure that you're saving this with the actual part name. So you need to make sure that you're saving either onto a flash drive or a desktop. Please be sure that if you're using a flash drive that you're using some method to back up your work, whether it's Google Drive or some type of cloud service where you can back up your flash drive or your desktop, because you don't want to lose your work, and sometimes flash drives are lost. So make sure you save, and you save in 2 places. So in order to save this, come up to your file. You can either go to File, Save, or Save As. So Save does just one, you're going to save straight to a location if you've already saved it or if you've had it open. If you use the Save As, it's going to make a copy of the existing one. And since I had started this and didn't finish it all in one time, so I've got now to rename it. So Save As makes a copy of the first one. So the first time I was working on this, it was just part 1. And then now I want to actually give it its actual part name. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this Adjuster Design. Okay, it's saving as a IPT file. I've got it in the folder where I want to save it, and I'm going to hit Save. Now, sometimes I will ask for you to create a PDF file. It just makes it easier for me to actually look at them quicker, especially when we're working with some of these. When you send me the IPT file, I'll be able to see all of your sketches and extrusions, and so if something goes wrong or looks wrong, I can look at your files and see what you're doing. But when I get a PDF file, it's just basically a generic print screen of the actual part. But let me just go ahead and show you. If you're going to do a PDF, you export and then export in the PDF file format, and that's going to create a PDF file. So you can have the same part name in the folder. One of them would be an IPT file, and one of them is going to be a PDF. So if I save that, and then I'll go back to the folder and show you what that part looks like as a PDF. So looking here at my my folder for the Drafting 241 class, this is our first part. So this is the one that I had started with, which was just a basic drawing, and I hadn't named it the original adjuster design. So I don't need this one anymore, so I'm going to right click on that and delete that from the list. I don't need it, so no need to keep it there. So this is your IPT file. Okay, so I've got the little block there. That's the standard logo for your IPT file, and then this is the PDF file. So if I double click on that PDF file, you'll be able to see what that's going to look like as the PDF. So it just takes a print screen of the image in 3-dimension, and that's it. So it's not an electronic copy. I can't see that, so that's why I prefer you to upload the PDF file, the IPT file, so I can actually see the part and take a look at it. There is a little icon down here at the bottom. You can switch that to the images, and then you can actually see that. So when you go into your files, this might be another way that you want to go back and open up, because you can click on this and it will open up and activate the software from your flash drive or whatever. So just some basic file management. You want to make sure that you know how the files are saved, what they look like, and that will help you in the success of transferring files and uploading those to Canvas. If you have any questions about this, just email me and I'll be happy to help you further.